Hey guys, Arvind from Epic Career Labs again, and a very good morning to you. Today, one of my friends, as well as a member of the Epic Career Labs community, Siddharth, had asked a question about ATS. And I just thought while I'm making tea again, I thought I would very quickly answer a couple of key points about the ATS. ATS stands for Applicant Tracking System. And what that does is it's essentially a piece of software where companies, big companies especially, will just feed in the hundreds and thousands of resumes that they're going to be getting for different jobs, and they're going to put into the system, right? And once they input this thing, that's why HRs and companies usually ask for your CV in a PDF or in a doc or a docx format, right? That's because that's the kind of inputs that these software systems accept. Once the once your CV has been input, what that system does is it processes your CV. It looks at what are the keywords that you have, what are the companies you work for, what kind of experience do you have, how long have you worked in different companies, and all of those, right? And essentially what's happening, in my opinion, and you can verify this anywhere, is that they're using this to weed out the people who don't fit the criteria, right? Now, another really crappy thing that's happening because of this is you are essentially dehumanized, right? You as an individual don't stand out. So if you're wondering what are the things that you can actually do to bypass this or to circumvent this applicant tracking system, here are some pointers that are going to help you. Okay, there's two options. Okay, either you play the game or you don't play the game, and I highly recommend that you don't play this game. Okay, what I mean by that is that you don't wait until a job is actually coming out and being posted on, let's say, LinkedIn or any other job site, right? You don't want to wait until a job gets there. That's why what you want to do is you want to keep on networking. You want to keep on building that rapport and relationship with people before you need anything from them, right? So go ahead, make those connections, and you know what? These connections are going to help you because every now and then, what you want to be doing is you want to just get feelers for, hey, is there anything opening up? What's happening in the industry? Are there any opportunities coming up, right? That's number one. Number two, you want to be constantly interviewing. Yes, I said that. You want to be constantly interviewing so that you realize that, hey, suddenly it's not like you don't want to interview just when you have a job, right? It's like you always have to be closing, right? Like from Glenn Ross, always be interviewing so that you know what's your net worth. I recommend going on interviews like maybe once every 3 months, every 2 months, depending upon how much you can swing it, and that's going to be helping you a lot. As a result, you would know how things are going to be going, right? You understand the changes in the system, and you would know what are the skills that you actually need to have. All right, and of course, my preferred method of finding jobs is known as the Trojan horse technique, and that's something I'm teaching as a part of my 30 Epic Career Upgrades course. All right, so that's there. Now, apart from that, now let's say that's the bit about where I'm encouraging you not to play the game. But let's say that you're in the situation where you have to play the game, where you don't have these sources that are going to be telling you that there are these opportunities, right? So instead of that, okay, if you have to go in and apply, these are the things I recommend. Number one, optimize your resume, right? If it's not a human, and if it's a machine, it's going to be operating by certain rules. And these rules usually say, check for these keywords, check for these brand names, check for all of these things, right? So what you want to be doing is look at essentially the way the job description, the job posting has been done. Pick up keywords from there, right? Pick up the keywords from there and make sure that they're present in your resume. That's number one. Number two, don't use any fancy art. Don't use any it's being read by a machine, right? So you want to make sure that's easy for the machine, right? Make sure your formatting is fine. Just use like the default font. What is that? Arial or Helvetica or Calibri or whatever those things are, right? Just stick to that. Don't go fancy, because I don't know how these systems work. I don't know if they're actually parsing the data as is, or are they doing like a scan thing. Either way, you don't want to risk it, right? Keep it simple and don't make it too long. I believe that like a 1-pager or 2-pager is perhaps the tops, but again, depends upon what is the requirement of each system. But the most important thing that you can do, okay, was the first thing that I mentioned, right? Make sure that you pick up the keywords that are there as part of the job description. Make sure that they are there in your CV when you're going to be applying for these jobs, right? And what does that mean? It means that you cannot use the same CV or resume for different jobs. You will need to customize, because that's how you can actually go ahead and beat the system. Now, that being said, right, you need to understand that if companies are using this sort of a system to weed out different people, to weed out who's actually, if they're getting thousands of applicants, then you need to understand something. The couple of things at play here. One, the demand for such a thing is also quite high, right? For such a job. So there's a lot of competition. So you need a way to stand out. And that's number one. Number two is, if the companies are fairly large, right? They're not being mean. They're not being, very cutthroat, very business-like. I mean, it does make business sense, but it's not. I'm not saying that big companies don't care about individuals, right? They do, but they have set up these sort of filters, right? And the best way, I'm telling you, okay, no matter what it is, no matter what you're doing, the best way for you to land a job anywhere is to get in through a referral. Okay, so go ahead, work on that. Oh, one last point. There are resume optimization tools available, right, online. I used to do this for a living before when I was studying in Manchester, even as far recent as 2018, right, when I had to make some money on the side. I would edit people's resumes, and I would speak to HRs and ask them, dude, what is it that you're actually looking for? Look, humans editing your resume, all that is fine, but you want to get an extra layer of protection. If you're really, really serious about getting that job, get a referral. If you can't get that, get somebody else to actually edit one of those professional resume services. You know what they do? The back end, they have access to tools like automated resume optimizers. Just go and search for them on the internet. You should be able to find something. Go ahead, look at those, and start using them yourself. Okay, that will also give you a whole bunch of. You got to fight fire with fire, right? You're going to fight machines with machines then. But again, the best tip I can give you: don't wait to apply for a job that you find on LinkedIn. You should always be having like a steady supply of jobs, right? That's where you have to focus on your networking. That's where you focus on your personal branding. That's where you got to, build up this network of people who are going to be sending you referrals. And you have to dig that well before you're actually thirsty. I hope that helped for everybody who's watching this, and as well as for Sid from the Epic Career Labs community. This is Arvind, and you know what I always love to say? Over and out.